Welcome to the Brains, Bubbly and Beyond podcast, powered by the LIT Institute. LIT stands for Law, Innovation, Technology, Tomorrow, and we provide you with innovative curriculum and courses that are bridging the gap between law and technology, transforming you from lawyer to legal innovator. Join our Gen AI Legal Accelerator program or our Legal Innovation Accelerator, coming up soon. Visit us at litinstitute.com. I'm your host, Narishka Bowen. And today we have Tholoana Ncheke joining us. She's the Group Legal Counsel at Primedia Group and the Council Member and Chairperson of the National Film and Video Foundation. Tholoana, it's so lovely to have you here with us today.
Thank you for the invite. I'm so excited.
So let's just dive right in. You've got an impressive career journey, and really, we want to hear all about it. So tell us a little bit about your story. Where did it all begin? Where did 18-year-old Thuli have leave this dream, or was this all part of the plan all along?
Sure. Yeah, I think it's been quite a journey, and I'm fortunate enough that you've been part of a big part of that journey, given the fact that we studied together and then we did our articles together at the same law firm. So I would have never really imagined that my career would take the trajectory that it has. Mm-hmm. I think, first of all, issues of being a board member, let alone a chairperson of a board, definitely would have not crossed my mind. Lecturing, which is something that I've done from time to time, would have never crossed my mind. But what I've always known I wanted to do was try and make the most around the versatility of law, because law is a very versatile field, and you can either be in-house counsel, you can practice at a law firm, and then it exposes you to different areas. So that's one thing that I'd always been keen on. I think I was also very fortunate to have been at a law firm that exposed you to different areas, and it therefore said you don't have to be stuck with one particular place. So, I mean, just taking it a few steps back, I went to varsity at the University of Pretoria and I studied my BA law. And that was really because at that stage, I wasn't really sure whether I wanted to do law or international relations, because that's an area that I was very passionate about from a very early age. And I'm not sure why I was so drawn to international relations in high school, but I've always been very interested in engagements between different countries and collaboration.
I could see you in the UN.
Of course. And collaboration between different countries, all, working towards a specific goal. And I think that's when I started being interested in international trade as well. So then I completed my BA law. I thought, listen, 2 more years, let's do law. And then after I did law, I thought, well, practice so that you can be a lawyer. So as you can see, it was always step by step. It wasn't really with a long-term trajectory in mind. But I think with each step, it started building a fuller picture for me that I may have had the bare outline at a particular point in time, but with completing each stage, I was then able to see how that would direct me to my next.
Okay.
Then I did my articles at, it's changed its name so many times. Because we started off, it was Dene Straits and then Norton Rose, and then Norton Rose Fulbright essay. Did like a few exposures, predominantly litigation. I did not like it. It was exciting, but just not me.
Not for you.
Not for me. And then after that, unfortunately, I wasn't retained at the law firm, which I think was a bit of a disappointment for me. And it was a very heavy realization at that point in time that, look, okay, maybe being a lawyer at a big law firm is not immediately available.
Yeah.
And I had an internal conflict at the time, because I thought to myself, I have my idea of the type of lawyer that I would want to be. But at this stage, I clearly don't fit into the cookie cutter, if I can put it like that. And I had to reconcile myself with that not being a reflection of my lack of ambition. Because I think at that stage, one judges themselves differently at each stage in their career. So at that stage, my judgment of whether or not I'm successful was being retained in the law firm. And so, to be honest, I took quite a hard knock when that happened, because I all of a sudden had to pivot and I wasn't quite sure, okay, what do I do? So in-house legal counsel was sort of thrust at me at that particular time. At that particular juncture, I went to PwC, which is an auditing firm. So for me, fitting into an auditing firm, but fortunately enough, I went into a team that had incredible lawyers that just love international trade. I got exposed to that, but it really didn't quite feel like an environment that would provide me with the opportunity that I desired as a lawyer.
Yeah.
Because the minute I come out of my department, I'm confronted by auditors. Respect to auditors. So I thought, let me go back to practice and tried once again. I went to ENS. Did a stint at tax, and I really went in with the intention to make the most of it. But I think, again, being confronted with the very same reasons why I left practice to begin with, those very areas that I had identified as quite difficult for me. And I thought, but okay, maybe let me be less stubborn than I was when I was younger. Just try to conform a bit. It didn't work out. And then that's when media law found me. I always say it found me because I was literally taking a jog when I came across the company that I eventually applied to, the Film and Publication Board, literally. And then from there...
Divine intervention, was it?
Exactly, perfect timing. And then from there, really, my career in media law took off. And I became involved in development of policies, of legislation, presenting in parliament. So all of the things that I used to imagine and think I would do with reference to or within the context of international trade, I now started doing it within the context of law. And media law, to be specific. So that's why I said I would have never thought. And I'm one who just grabs opportunities. I saw an ad about the NFEF, if people were wanting to be council members, they could nominate themselves, pursued that, it worked out. So then it just snowballed, so to speak. But as you can see or hear, it's been quite a meandering journey.
It's been a journey, and a few things I think that stood out for me in that journey was being open. I mean, not many people would say, oh, I went for a jog and I found the company that I'm going, because maybe we're living with blinkers on and we're so wrapped up in our minds and we have this plan and we're going to follow the plan. That when the opportunity presents itself to us, so the universe is giving us a sign, we don't always see it and we don't always take it. Same as, you saw the ad. That could have been the sign from the universe, but not everybody's going to see the ad and also apply.
Correct.
So you also have to do your part. You can't just sit back and, just say like things must happen for me.
Yes.
It's a two-way street. Yes, opportunities may present themselves, but you also have to take the opportunities and also be open enough to when they're there to receive them.
Yeah.
Because if you're too trapped, they may just be coming and coming and coming, and you're busy here complaining, missing all of them.
Yeah. No, that's very true. And I think I was fortunate enough, or rather, let me put it like this. In hindsight, it was during a time that I was unemployed. So one just takes anything that, they can find, so to speak. But when I then look back at how it's actually worked out, going forward, it's made me exactly what you've described now. Somebody who's very open to opportunities, somebody who is very flexible in their thinking of what my next is. We can have a very specific idea of what we want. What we need to be very open-minded about is the how. There are various routes to the same objective. And I think sometimes, especially when you are in a career such as law that is so well-defined, we tend to find ourselves slightly constrained by the preconceived notion of the charted path of success. And sometimes we need to be open to that. And I think especially now when we've got technologies that were not there when we had started, or technologies impacting the world to the extent that we have started, it therefore means there's new opportunities, new areas of law to define, new areas of law to charter. And if one wants to put their stake in the ground, they look at these opportunities as an avenue through which they can innovate in developing legal systems, innovate in developing policies. So there's a lot of scope, and I think we need to take off the blinkers of this is how a successful career path looks like in law, and be open to that. And I always said to myself, a no was never a no, it was just a redirection. And that also just helped me to keep a positive mindset that, yes, it may not work out, but it's not to say that I'm failing.
Yeah.
It's just that I'm being redirected to the path specific for me.
No, I think what you're saying is so powerful, because the same circumstances could put a different person in a spiral.
Correct.
You know, oh, I didn't get this. It didn't work out. Da, 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 da. And you just go lower and lower and lower. Whereas if you are capable of achieving that mindset and saying, okay, this is not for me right now,
Yeah.
but maybe there's something else. Let me
Yes.
see what else is out there. How I'm going to get there, I don't know yet.
Yes.
I trust. I know that I will get there.
Yep.
It's not this way.
Yeah.
There must be another way.
Absolutely.
And if you can cultivate and keep that mindset, it will come. And I think that's truly powerful. And I think that it's a big differentiator for a lot of people, because life happens.
Life happens.
Life happens to all of us, no matter how much you
happens.
pray or how good a person you are or whatever. Life
Yes.
happens to everybody.
Yes.
It's how you then respond to life. And I think what you've charted in your journey is how you responded to the challenges that life threw at you.
Yeah.
And that mindset that you cultivated is what kept you able to see the opportunities and be able to find the steps, even if it wasn't linear, even if it wasn't preordained or planned,
Yes.
to get you to a place where, I mean, you're happy to be here.
Yes,
I
exactly. It's
assume.
like, oh, I landed. I've been, it's been like quite a parachute.
Cheers to that. Cheers to that
Yes.
amazing journey. And
Oh, sip. Yes.
so if you had to name a career highlight or two or three, what would be the career highlights?
Career highlights. In no particular order. Lecturing, I'd say, at WITS. I'm one to, I love public engagements, and I love them because of the opportunities I was given when I was at the Film and Publication Board, where I did a lot of public engagements.
Yeah.
And so WITS for me was being given the opportunity to engage with people from different parts of Africa and impart knowledge and understanding around how content can be regulated, how it is regulated in South Africa, and how they can apply those in their respective regions. And because I've got such a passion for developing policies that are applicable within a specific region, as opposed to specifically for a country, I felt as though I was achieving that indirectly, because we had people from Swaziland, we had people from Botswana, from Malawi, all of which are countries that are at different levels of development as far as their policies are concerned. And Africa really does play a leading role in the development of policies and legislation. So to be able to have that sort of impact for me was phenomenal. And I was given the opportunity to do so on more than one occasion. And then one that was controversial for some time, but it was a career highlight for me, was being involved in the Film and Publication Amendment Act. Yes. And it was controversial because, as you know, civil society was up in arms that the government is trying to censor the internet. We were not trying to censor the internet, you know. We had to rectify our wording here and there. But seeing it come to light from something that kept me up for hours at night, something that I consulted extensively with lawyers on, and at that point you were part of the external legal team, to something that we consulted the entire country on because we did provincial workshops, and seeing that Naresh culminate to a document with the president's signature on us.
I was part of that. Wow.
So what, and the excitement of it is not so much that of the end product, but it brought into proximity what I've desired. There are things that we achieve that mean much more to us than the tangible. it's more what I want is possible.
Yeah.
The opportunity was created for me to achieve it.
Mm-hmm.
And it validates almost your extreme ambitions that one has whenever you can sometimes share that, oh, this is what I want to do. And they're like, really, really, calm down. So it was phenomenal, really, to have been able to achieve that. And then I was given the opportunity to be part of the expert reference group that was developing the policy for the South Africa audio and audiovisual media landscape, because technology impacts how we consume content, how we create content, how we distribute content. And so unfortunately, all of the broadcasting laws in that regard are completely outdated. And what a lot of countries suffer from, not only South Africa, is responding on a piecemeal basis. So if we're dealing with undesirable ads, then we'll address that so that children are not bombarded with ads of sugary foods on social media, then we'll address that. If we've got an issue around social media using influencers as paid influencers, then we'd address that. If we've got an issue of OTTs, which are your over-the-top platforms, and regulating them as far as them contributing to the national fiscus, then, we try and address that. But that doesn't work and it's not sustainable. So what the department was looking at doing is having a comprehensive policy that would guide the overhauling of all the necessary legislation. It's been a very long process, but again, to be part of a process where we are trying to innovate and develop new laws in response to technologies and trying to find a way to provide for some longevity to the laws themselves, because technology develops at such a rapid pace. We want to make sure that at least 5 years later it would still be relevant, especially because passing laws takes so long. So those were the main, and of course being the chairperson of the National Film and Video Foundation, because it's brought me into proximity with my other love, which is theater. I've always said if I wasn't a lawyer, I'd be an actress.
Oh.
So it brought me proximity.
Never say never. Never say never.
And I think also the way it happened, because my intention was never, or rather I didn't set out applying to be the chairperson, because what happens is you get nominated to be considered to be part of the council. And this process took very long.
Yeah.
And then I got a call I remember it vividly, I got a call during December, and I was at a friend's party. And then I answer my phone, hi. And I'm like, who am I speaking to? And he mentions his name. And I'm like, who? And after I said who, it dawned on me that this is the minister. Composure. And then he says, oh, congratulations. I'd like to congratulate you on being appointed as the chairperson.
Wow.
I'm like, excuse me?
It's
like, yeah, you're the chair. So it was great, because it was the cherry on top. Actually, it was the entire cake on top.
Yes.
Because I didn't set that out. And again, it's just being able to serve an industry that I'm passionate about, an industry that really contributes to the economy. If we think about just the entire value chain of the film and television industry, it's not just your actors, it's your production, it's your set design, it's the people that it's the production team, it's an entire value chain, it's your catering, your makeup services. So to be part of an institution that, again, is mandated with facilitating transformation of the sector, but also the growth of the sector. And again, to facilitate co-production agreements or co-production agreements and initiatives, essentially between ourselves and other countries, where we try and see how we can leverage our skills, where we try and see how we can attract foreign investment, where we take South African film content to be showcased in international audiences, where we are able to forge collaborations with the likes of Netflix, where there's increasingly South African content, and to be able to say, look, I was part of that. Yes. I did that. So those, I don't know, I've lost count, but those were the highlights.
Amazing. It's great when you run out of fingers to, I was like, to count your
I'm done.
You mentioned a lot of things, but the one thing I want to come back to is the content regulation piece. So, I mean, that's obviously a very topical topic everywhere in the world, not just here. And it's becoming, and it's been topical for a while just by human generated content and how do we
Yes.
regulate, all of that. And you alluded to that with the FPV Amendment Act as well, which caused the controversy there. But now it's a bit of a different ball game, because now in addition to just human generated content, our internet's been flooded with AI generated content. Now, how are regulations dealing with this? Do our regulations need to change and adapt because of generative AI content, or are they already adequately future proofed? And from a regional perspective, is our region following global best practices? Are we behind? Where do we stand from a comparative perspective as well?
How much time do we have as well? Because it's a huge topic, and I was attending yesterday the Information Regulators Dialogue on Misinformation and Disinformation during the election period, because as we know, whenever there are heightened activities in a particular country, it becomes very susceptible to the dissemination of misinformation, disinformation, and now the new term is malinformation as well. And they were also talking about the impact of AI on content generation and the need then to, obviously they were looking at it more from a perspective of misinformation and disinformation, but the mere fact that we were now having that as a consideration amplified the fact that that has become something that we need to grapple with quite readily. It's a challenge also in various fields, because on the one hand, it's an opportunity where you can now create content perhaps at decreased costs. So it's not as difficult now to develop a certain type of content piece, because even if you want specific effects, you can potentially use AI for that. So there are definitely opportunities to be harnessed, but we also don't know how we can properly define these opportunities, because on the other hand are the very real risks where it's one's privacy, it's one's dignity, and the fact that somebody shouldn't just be able to use my likeness in a particular film or my likeness in trying to promote a particular message without my consent. And I think the Department of Communications has recently issued a paper on AI. I think the idea is just to start having that discussion. And in Hollywood, there were all sorts of strikes, exactly, and unrest around the impact of AI that it's having on job losses, that side. And this is Hollywood. So if Hollywood is feeling the brunt, we actually can't help but get into panic mode, because it seems as though it's at this point having more of a negative impact than a positive impact. And I think that's the other dimension, is how we can properly identify and understand what AI is, so that we can have a proper response where we delineate the uses of AI and how we respond to the misuses of AI. And I think this is going to be something that is going to take regulators overall a number of years to come to. I just look at the fact that we at this point still haven't been able to pass comprehensive legislation around regulating digital content specifically. Because yes, your Netflixes, we're saying for purposes of South Africa, they need to regulate their content, but that's only a portion of regulating digital platforms. Do they have to have local content quotas? If so, how much? Do they have to contribute towards a local production fund? We're still there. We haven't even passed that milestone successfully. So it is something that it's going to take us some time. What does encourage me is that the conversation is starting, but we also need to be very mindful around who's leading those conversations and what their own intentions are, and what the tech companies themselves are saying about the impact of AI on the safe use of their platforms. And what measures they're doing to try and capacitate their users. What are their public awareness and initiative campaigns? So I think it's going to be an ongoing dialogue. I can't think of any region that I can say has gotten it right, because they're all faced with their challenges of the impact of AI on their respective institutions and their respective industries. There was an AI generated video of Trump allegedly supporting a particular party in South Africa. I mean, so the only thing that I would at this stage hope that we do is we don't have, as regulators, a knee-jerk reaction to shut it down. I've seen a lot of the times in other African countries when people start using platforms in their own creative ways, the immediate knee-jerk reaction is shut it down. When people start using Facebook, Twitter, and other social media platforms to express their dissatisfaction with the government and hold the government to account, shut it down. And imposing taxes. So whatever we do, we need to ensure that we don't have that knee-jerk reaction and we don't make the technologies inadvertently inaccessible, because then we won't be able to harness the benefits because there will be economic benefits at the end of the day. We have more and more of a digital economy that we cannot shy away from. We haven't even properly regulated cryptocurrencies or even properly understood that concept. So again, it's just trying to, yes, learn from international best practice to the extent that there is international best practice. But I really hope and would caution against that knee-jerk censorship, shut it down approach, or have a unilateral approach where you just think it's all good or all bad.
No, I think it's going to be very interesting to see as Gen AI, gets better. We've already seen it with OpenAI. Sora can literally write a sentence and create like a movie quality video for 1 minute. And as the compute power increases and all of that, I'm sure, in the not so distant future, that 1 minute video is going to become a feature length video and so on and so on.
Correct.
And what does that mean now for the entire creative industry? Will Tom Cruise just license his face and, sit back in the Bahamas while movies Mission Impossible 23 is being made without him being involved, But then what about up and coming new actors who don't have a name or a brand to license? What does it mean for the industry as a whole?
Correct.
And I do think, as we become more saturated with Gen AI content, my hope for humanity is that we start appreciating human content more, because there's still something special. And I think you mentioned earlier, if you could go back in time, maybe theater would be the road that you walk down. And I say we don't have to have this one career. We don't have to say I am this group legal counsel and so I can't be in the theater. There's no rule book to life. And one thing I've been pondering is that earlier in our lives, we make time for these types of pursuits. So when we're at school, there's the school play, there's netball, there's soccer, there's art class, there's this, we're learning piano. At university, if you put in the effort, there are clubs and societies that you can join and still be involved in that. And then as you go kind of up the ladder, maybe as a junior, as a CA, we played soccer together in the company soccer club or whatever it is. But as you go up the ranks, the work kind of just expands, your family life kind of just expands, and all these other pursuits that were part of enjoying life, maybe being part of a play or singing or whatever else you may be interested in. How do we bring that back into our lives?
We have to be intentional about it. I think especially when you go from having the luxury of time, so to speak, and having institutions or being in institutions or environments that encourage that, to you now having to be the one to encourage that for yourself. And it's very important, specifically speaking as a career woman, not to exclude men, but it's very important for us to cultivate that alone time, because that's my time. It's got no responses to external demands, either family, either career, and especially if one is busy with multiple initiatives, there's even more and more of a call on your time. Because for me, that time is important because it's about Tholoana. It's not about the Group Legal Counsel. It's not about the chairperson. It's not about Asante's mother. It's not about Akim's mother. It's not about whoever's wife. It's me. And I need to keep myself grounded in me and that moment where I'm able to reflect on what's be it meditated, be it praying, be it reading my Bible, be it even when I'm walking, praying. I need that time because it allows me to then just almost tune in with me, because everything that we do from the unique perspective of who we are. Even if we can all do the same task, we can all be assigned the same task, but we all bring nuances of who we are to it, be it in terms of what you may think is priority, be it in terms of how you may argue a particular case, be it how you may interpret that particular case. But all of it, part of it, yes, is creativity, it's wisdom, it's understanding, but a big part of it also is the nuances of who you are. And you need to have that sense of my time so that I can continue to just feed in and hone in who I am, but more importantly, be conscious that at the end of the day, there is this core at the center of everything. There is this core individual, and out of that flows the chairperson, out of that flows the mother, out of that flows the group legal counsel, out of that flows the friend, and so on. And so that's why I'm saying we have to be intentional about it. So depending on what my particular context was, either at gym, but now gymming is just too much of an effort. I must wake up and I must go and drive to the gym. Is there a class? Because I'm not good with machines, because I'll hop from one machine to another. So that wasn't working for me anymore. And I thought, what do I do? Oh, okay. Fortunately enough, I live in a closed office state. So I do have a secure environment where I can take my walks, be it in the morning. I prefer morning before it's hot. And also it's quiet.
Yeah.
So it's very peaceful early in the morning. And again, I can just be me. I can enjoy that quiet time. There are even less people to interact with on the road. So it serves that purpose that by the time I then get home and everybody is only starting their day, I'm rejuvenated, I'm ready to go, and I can respond to the needs of being a mother, a wife, and. So we have to be intentional about it. And we also have to be flexible around what works when. Because lives, as we said, life happens. So you may catch a cold. Now you can't be out jogging because apparently it's not good for you. It strains your lungs and. What are you then going to do to cultivate that time for yourself? Or we're going into winter. I've been having this debate with myself. What do I do? What do I do? So maybe I can just wake up early and spend that time just meditating. Reading my Bible and praying is important for me so that I can use that time to do that instead, and still have that sense of I'm spending time that really fulfills and feeds who Tholoana is at her core. And if there's anything I can emphasize, it's exactly that for us as individuals, because as we grow older, there's increased demand on our time. And oftentimes I've heard friends even say, I don't know who I am anymore. And we don't say it because it sounds cute and it's things we've heard in movies, but you really can lose your identity where you are constantly responding to a definition of who you are as per a role. And it's not to say that you're any less dedicated to that role, but it's okay, after I've knocked off, then who am I? After I've switched off my laptop and I've put it away and the kids are asleep, or, the husband's at a meeting and I'm left with myself. Who's this person? Do I know this person?
Can I be alone with
this person? Can I be alone this person? Yes, exactly. Can I be alone with this person?
I think, there's so many important points that you've struck there in that conversation. Authenticity being a very big one, understanding yourself, knowing yourself, being able to be with yourself. It's actually rare in today's world, because what do we do when we're alone? We distract ourselves with our phone, social media, Netflix. We don't actually want to be with ourselves. We do things to avoid ourselves because we don't know who we are. There's too much fear, anxiety, things we're not ready to deal with that we are continuously suppressing.
So true.
And so we just distract and live our lives in this distracted version.
Yeah.
And then it's easier to latch onto these other external identities, whether it be director of this company or group legal counsel of this or chairperson of that, whatever then that becomes who you are.
Yes.
Or I am a mother and that becomes who you are. Or I am a wife and that becomes who you are. And as you then grab these external identities and you don't know how to be with yourself, the distance just keeps getting greater and greater and greater to the point where, as you said, you actually forget.
Yeah.
And you don't even know what are the steps to go back.
Yes.
How do I even remember who I am? And it's that intentionality piece that I think you mentioned a couple of times. If you are not intentional at every kind of pivotal moment in your life to keep coming back and having something.
Yeah.
And it's different for every person. For you, it might be the quiet time, the walk, the prayer, the meditation that brings you back. For somebody else, it may be something completely different, but it needs to be, again, authentic to that person to bring them back. And then if you don't fill your cup, how on earth are you going to be the best mom you can be, the best wife you can be, the best employee you can be, the best chairperson you can be? Because now you're just running on empty to the point where, burnout is huge in the society we're living in. Every second person is burning out.
Absolutely.
And I think, everything you've described, people who are not doing those things, it's inevitable in a sense. Because if you're only giving, it's a basic, it's maths. If you're only subtracting, where do you end up? There's no additions, It's a simple concept, but unfortunately one that not many people know how to incorporate that into lives. And we blame being busy. We blame having no time. So I don't know, do you have any tips for people who may feel stuck? Know that, yes, I need to find myself. I need to remember who I am, but I don't know where to start. Where do we start?
So I'd say take time, and even if it's 30 minutes, it's easy to say an hour and then the immediate response can be, it's too long. Take 30 minutes and get yourself out of a particular environment. So if it's going to be a 30 minutes in the morning, and I encourage the morning because it's so easy for the day to run away with us, which is why much as I used to try and exercise late, the day's gone, it's hot, I'm tired, there's homework to do, the day's full by the time it's 3 o'clock, your afternoon is full. Or you're tired.
And your willpower.
Yes, and your willpower.
Everything's depleted. You're starting at 100, by the time you're like on 5 and you're like
I'm done. Let's try this again tomorrow. And tomorrow is next week. So I'd say 30 minutes. Take out 30 minutes of your time. If it means you have to wake up a bit earlier, do so. Do so because it's also just that quiet time. And if you're fortunate enough to be in an environment where you can walk within an estate, do so. If you don't, go out into your garden. Just sit quietly, find a book to read. Don't be on your phone because like you say, then you get caught up with the anxieties of the day and this is trending and it's been raining. If you live in Centurion, you're like, it's flooding. Where's my boat? I don't have a boat. So it's very easy to actually rile yourself up going through social media because there's a lot happening, which is why I actually leave my phone at home whenever I go, be it for my walk or my jog. I'm intentional with leaving my phone because it's very easy to respond to a call. And the whole point is to unplug. You have to disengage. So set aside 30 minutes. Find a way to just be outside because I think that also helps a lot. Just be outside. If you can read a book, read a book. If you can meditate, meditate. If you want to plan your day because also you plan your day quietly because you also want to feel as though I'm doing something because it can get awkward for some people if they're just sitting outside. Okay, she's never sit outside and it's only been like 10 minutes. She said 30. So just try and engage your mind with something, but nothing that responds to an immediate need that you feel as though, I have to pack breakfast. No, just take time out where you just listen to yourself, and be it journaling, Sometimes we haven't done that in years. Dear diary, we haven't done that in years. But journal.
Yeah.
Just spend some time just listening to yourself and engage with yourself. And it actually is very refreshing. Centers one. Do some breathing exercises if you will, but just spend some time, 30 minutes, and be disciplined about it. Be disciplined, be intentional that I am going to do this consistently, because you only reap the benefits of something if you're consistent. You can have all the intention to exercise, but unless you're intentional and consistent in your exercise, you're not going to reap the benefits. And you can't say, well, I went once or twice. It was exactly that, just once or twice. You won't feel the impact. So that's how I'd advise. Just 30 minutes in the morning, just listen to yourself. Just zone in whichever way you can.
That's so valuable. And I think you mentioned breathwork, which I think is so powerful as well. Even just slowing the breath down, just paying, even if you just turn your attention to the breath as a starting point for a couple of minutes in that 30 minutes, makes such a big difference.
Yeah.
And, there's studies that have shown that the more kind of relaxed and controlled your breath is, it is actually a predictor of your longevity. So
Sure,
the
that's
more
incredible.
intentionality you put on your breath and training yourself to breathe properly, and it kind of calms the nervous system, and also, almost like your way of healing yourself is your breath.
Yes. Oh, that's beautiful.
And it's something that we all have access to.
Correct.
You don't have to go to a class. You don't have to, you can, YouTube will teach you anything. I know we said no phones, but if you really don't know where to start, you can start with a simple thing
Correct.
on YouTube. And then once you've learned how to do it, you can then sit by yourself. But again, it's one of those, there's so many simple ways of spending that time with yourself, being intentional with yourself. You don't have to overcomplicate it. You don't need equipment, or you don't need
Correct.
anything fancy
And
to,
in fact,
to start the process.
That has to be the essence of it, is find something simple, because then you don't work your mind up on the complicated aspect of it, and then you're like, this doesn't work because, how many reps? Oh no, actually it's no. It has to be simple. That's why it can be something like you're saying, is as easy as sitting and just doing breathing exercises, taking a walk. It can't be complicated. It can't be complicated.
So tell us a little bit more about your journey about being a mom.
Yes.
Because I know obviously a number of us have this career mom struggle.
Yes.
Me for the last 4.5 years.
Yeah.
It's a new identity you're adding to yourself, trying to find yourself, been through that journey, and still having your other goals and ambitions that you want to achieve. So you had this journey basically from the start of your career,
right.
this juggle. And so, what, give us some of your advice on that.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's the thing. That's for me, the specific starting point is just how soon into my career. I don't even think I could call it a career at that stage, hey, because it was a transition. It was during the transitionary period, pretty much from varsity to starting out my articles. So in my second year of articles, I had my son, and I didn't think about it as something that necessarily impacted my career. I didn't think so. However, the environment was very quick to respond to me and say, no. That's not how it's done. And again, you then have to internally find your balance of saying, well, I'm here now. According to the rule book, perhaps, I'm a few steps ahead. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because the sooner one is able to, in their mind and emotionally reconcile that, the easier it is to then move on along your own career path with this now new identity and new responsibility, and not go spiral into a meltdown that, my career has ended because I'm now a mother very soon. Especially because some of us are also, and us I just mean collectively as people, sometimes people from a very early stage don't have motherhood and careerhood as somewhat mutually exclusive. So I think I'm glad we're having this conversation, because sometimes we do need to have that conversation of it's not mutually exclusive. And yes, there are some industries that are a lot more rigid than others and demand so much of our time and who we are that we feel as though we're going to have to compromise the one in order for us to pursue the other. So it was, and I think I was fortunate enough to have a good support system amongst my peers, you and everybody else, all the girls. It was really nice because, in as much as, yes, I was the first to have a child, I didn't really feel as though I was now out of step with the career path that we were all along as a collective. So I didn't feel as though, oh, I've now fallen behind. And some people have expressed that they felt as though they've fallen behind. There are some people who would say when they were on maternity leave, they weren't quite sure whether they'd come back and they'd still have their jobs or what it would then be like. So I was fortunate enough to have that, as I said, support system. And I was still able to finish my articles and get admitted in the same year that I would have been admitted, more or less. It's just that it was a few months later, which helped. But it was a juggle because all of a sudden you have this small individual who just relies on you for everything. And when they want to sleep, they cry. They don't just close their eyes. Now you must do something like, oh, and they can't speak either, so you must also be guessing. And so it's navigating, like you said, a new identity within an identity that's still developing, that I'm still chartering, and I'm not quite sure where my 5 years in law is going to lead me to at that time. But I must also now raise this individual. So it was a challenge in its own way. And I think, yes, I'm fortunate enough that my husband was all part of that process, but he's also navigating going into the corporate world, and he's now a father, and it's late nights, but there's little people. So it was a bit of a challenge. And then still finding me, my biggest struggle, to be honest, was then finding me in that and saying, yes, I'm a mother. Yes, I've got my career, but it does not mean that then consumes and defines who I am. And I can't always be identified as just being a mother. But other than that, I think it was an interesting journey to charter with its own challenges, as I've mentioned. But I was accepting of it in the sense that I was open to learning to be the best career mother, if there's such a term, as I can be. And some of my choices going forward were, to a great degree, influenced by that, because I had seen how practice was so demanding of my time. And given the type of mother that I want to be, who's very hands-on, who spends a lot of time with the children, that really wasn't fitting for me. And so I started looking in-house, but not looking in-house with the sense of, I'm giving up on being a successful lawyer. No, I'm a mother, and I need an environment that will be a bit more supportive of the type of mother that I want to be, but that will still also give me opportunities for growth and development. And to be honest, that's exactly what I got.
And tell us, what is it like being a mom to digital natives, knowing all the dangers out there in the online world?
Yes.
How do you navigate that part of saying, don't touch the internet versus, but mom, my friends are on Minecraft?
I know. And honestly, Narishka, we can't, as parents in this age, not be bothered about what our kids are doing online. And I'm not saying so simply because I've worked for a content regulator, that the whole essence of his existence is about protecting children from age inappropriate content. But let's think about ourselves as even adults right now. There is content that is unsavory. I don't know about you, but sometimes there'll be something that I just come across on X. I'm like, why? I don't understand how this has even
Just
come
popped
on.
up,
It
yeah.
just popped up, and I'd rather not. So think about us with our ability to regulate our emotions and our ability to understand that that is not reality, or it's unfortunate that it's happening in those particular areas, but move on, and it doesn't change my psyche. It does not necessarily change my outlook on life, but I still have a very serious concern about the type of content that I consume as an adult. What much more children?
Yeah.
And because they're always online, it's so easy for them to just get sucked into this black hole where this link then leads to this link, then leads to this link, then leads to this link. And I know there's the convenience of digital natives are probably the best behaved children in the sense that they sit in one spot and you will find them there the whole time. They move, they loo, they come back, they're there. So yes, I understand the convenience of, okay, they're not being mischievous in the traditional sense. But the things they're being exposed to. So every once in a while, I'll just hang around the house and just see what they're doing and inquire. Because sometimes you're like, yeah, it's Fortnite. Yeah, but it's violent in the sense that you're just going about shooting, and the whole point is eliminating. And when you start thinking about the type of content, the objective, I mean, I once heard something that shocked me when the kids were all playing, and I think they were online with other kids, and you hear a child participating. Oh, that was such a satisfying kill. I'm like, wait, what type of language are we developing? And I asked them, I'm like, guys, what are you playing? Because I'm hearing these, because you can hear them. And then the fact that they're also exposed to people in other jurisdictions. You don't know who they are.
Yeah.
They may pose as though they are their peers, but they're not. You don't know the type of information that they're going to start soliciting from these children. And sometimes it can be something as innocent as a picture, but I'm sorry, there are pedophiles out there.
Yeah.
I think the dark web is not spoken about enough, and it doesn't exist in isolation from the normal internet. You know, you get sucked into this rabbit hole, so to speak. So that's why I emphasize the fact that we need to know what our children are being exposed to and have that conversation. So who are you playing with? And you can then start picking up and also just try and guide them without necessarily scaremongering. Because the other thing is it creates an opportunity for engagement and dialogue should a child have an unfortunate experience or they're a bit unsure about something, because they know that mom knows, mom cares, and mom is engaged. I think for me, growing up, we all have areas of our life, even our lives, even as children, where we feel as though our parents don't get it. So you're not going to have that conversation with them because they don't get it. I wouldn't want that for children in this here 2023 digital native time. Because to be honest, there's so many dangers out there, and you want to equip and sensitize children to the fact that there are those dangers. Because if you think about it, we don't say stranger danger anymore because our kids are always indoors.
Yeah, they're not
so we don't think they're
people.
correct, but they are constantly engaging with strangers. So we need to take those and start adapting them within the context that we are living in, because those dangers still
100%.
persist.
We need to understand the dangers and then educate our children, take responsibility for educating them, because they have to live in this online world. Julie, we're coming to the end of our time, but tell us, what are you watching on Netflix and what are you reading?
Watching on Netflix, I've just finished it now. No, wait, okay, that's Showmax. I need to pause.
Okay, Showmax. Showmax is fine.
Okay, great, thank you. Because now I must try and remember
on
what I've just watched.
On a streaming
platform. I'm watching Reika.
Okay.
So Reika is a series. It's the second season. I think part of the reason I'm really intrigued with the second season is because I know the producer. So it's like, then you can chat about it.
Nice.
But I'm a big lover of content. I'm a big lover of South African content specifically, and watching how diverse it has all become. And I love how we are now using these streaming platforms to also be very bold in the type of content that we're creating as 100%. South Africa. We've got Soon Comes Night, we've got Silverton Siege that, have rattled a few corners, but we need that. Of course, within the parameters of proper content regulation, as we were alluding to earlier. But there's just such an opportunity for diverse content. We have Blood Psalms, which is our version of that show with the dragon lady.
The Game of Thrones.
Right, exactly. So
Okay,
Blood Psalms is South Africa's version
telling
of
us
Game of
about
Thrones. And I love it because we're really pushing boundaries as South
Yeah.
Africa in terms of the type of content, the effects. So that's what I'm watching. And then the other question was?
And what are you reading?
What am I reading? I'm reading this book called The Purpose and Power of Woman by Dr. Miles Monroe.
Ooh.
Because I believe I was created as a woman for a specific purpose.
Okay.
It's not happenstance.
Mm.
And I've been very keen to hone in on what it means to be a woman. And so that
So what
book,
is your purpose?
Ma'am, I'm on chapter something.
You'll tell us next time.
Sure, but jokes aside, I truly believe there's a role for me to play insofar as coordinating policies and legislation in Africa. If we look at what the EU is doing, it's a single market. And because I've had this interest in international relations, and as we progress into the economy becoming so less defined by geographical boundaries, what are we doing to harness ourselves or the resources that we have as a regional bloc as opposed to a country? So I truly believe I've got a huge role to play in coordinating that. In fact, I did my dissertation on that, where you look at a SADC model law and how developing model laws for a region can actually empower individual countries to develop legislation that are on par with international best practice, and international best practice with reference to the nuances of the region, and not just a Africa versus EU cut and paste approach, because that also won't work. So
I love that so much. Can't wait to have you back on season 10 when you tell us all about it. Thank you so much
thank you,
Cheers.
Narishka. This has been lovely.
to that beautiful conversation.
Thank you. This has been so great and so fun.
Thank you so much for coming. This was the Brains, Bubbly and Beyond podcast powered by the Lit Institute. Visit litinstitute.com, and I'm your host, Narishka Bowen. Thank you.